If I were a man, for which I have 1,001 reasons to thank heaven and providence that I'm not, would you even think to question the amount of money I'm borrowing?
This is a recap of Gentleman Jack, Series 2, Episode 6. Here we go.
You know, if you didn't draw attention to how odd you are, they wouldn't do these things.
Wow. Shaming your child for not conforming. How very 1800s of you, Jeremy. Episode 6 is a lot of business, but also a lot of Anne and Anne scenes. We really see their marriage put to the test, and by the end of this episode, we will be seeing one of them screaming at the other, reminding her of her vows. But that's later. First, we, once again, don't check back in with Thomas the pig murderer, and instead spend the duration of the episode outside of Anne and Anne scenes, looking into Ann Lister's various business deals and political efforts. But then, thank God, we get deep into some good old-fashioned domestic storms brewing between Ann Lister and Ann Walker. Ann Lister gets home from a long day where she's, quote, had to deal with men,
Oh, no.
while Ann Lister has tired herself out due to the exhaustion that is men. Ann Walker has been busy reading a letter Anne wrote to a companion in Copenhagen, Lady Harriet. Remember season 1 with all the dancing and the frolicking? That was fun. Well, Anne Walker has read this letter that Ann Lister has wrote to Lady Harriet, and Anne is pissed.
It's in brackets. You've put me in brackets. It's a clause, an aside, in a bigger paragraph. Yes, I'm a clause. I'm an aside.
Here we see Anne Walker is feeling quite low on Ann Lister's priority list. The beginning of this episode spends a lot of time showing us how invested Ann Lister is in her business and her politics, and now we realize it may have all been at the expense of Miss Walker, because Miss Walker is obviously feeling very insecure.
I'm sorry if you think that's how it reads. I'm sorry if you think, oh, I hate that. That's what men say. I'm sorry if you're so stupid that you've misunderstood.
Ann Lister responds with the classic, I'm sorry you're seeing it that way. Oh my god. I cannot tell you how frustrating it is. It is absolutely a dressed up version of, you're stupid, I'm sorry you feel that way. Oh my god. Please, tell me to go f off. Please, murder me. Just don't tell me I'm sorry you feel that way. One of the highlights of the episode is when Ann Lister gives Ann Walker a little pep talk, and she's all, remember when we got busted by Miss Priestley rounding second base and you totally just laughed it off? Like, you're stronger than you think you are? I'm totally here for it. Love these moments between the two of them.
If I were a man, would you even think to question the amount of money I'm borrowing?
This was such a great moment to include in the preseason trailer, and I love it in this episode when Anne asks, hey, if I were a man, would you even think to question whether I'm borrowing too much money? Anne is always pushing against the boundaries that women were given in that time, and it is just fascinating to watch, especially knowing she actually did this. This ain't fiction. This went down.
I'm just jealous that she has you to gaze at all day.
Only to gaze upon you.
Damn, this scene with Anne and Miss Rawson is gay as She wants to gaze upon you. You want to gaze upon her. We get it. You guys want to gaze upon each other. My God, just rip each other's clothes off already.
She should be running the country.
Not sure about that. I mean, smart doesn't always mean good, or that, they'll give a f*** about equality or think about benefits to all, as we see Ann Lister doesn't really care about. But I appreciate the sentiment Miss Rawson is giving Ann Lister here. She's basically saying, this is twice as smart as any man in the tri-state area, but because she was born a woman, you idiots get more power than her. One of the more fun parts of the episode is when Ann Lister is trying to read the letter from Mariana, and her sister Marian keeps interrupting her in this comedic way where, like, they're using Mariana's voice to narrate, but like Marion keeps interrupting her narration and Ann Lister's like super annoyed. I just thought I love these light comedic moments, and I just think the showrunner and the writers and the actors and the editors are really great at weaving comedic moments in with really high tension dramatic moments. This is just great television. The climax of the episode is when Ann Walker receives an anonymous letter warning her about Ann Lister and about Ann Lister's past with a curious woman named Eliza Rain. Now, the story of Anne and Eliza Rain goes that they became entwined with each other when they were just teenagers. Now, at some point along the way, Eliza began having problems mentally, and she ended up in various institutions throughout the remainder of her life. The implication in this scene is that Ann Lister caused the problems that Eliza Rain had, and they are warning Ann Walker. And of course, I think it was actually logical for Ann Walker to dismiss this, considering she was having problems before interacting with Ann Lister, and Ann Lister has been, on a whole, I would say, a positive as far as her being more upbeat and excited about life and traveling and being up and around and just less depressed.
Were you in love with her?
You know, Ann Lister, it's worth noting that had you been honest with Ann Walker from the beginning, then none of this would have come out as some big secret, and instead of it being you versus Ann Walker, it would be them versus you two. When Marion breaks the fourth wall and looks at the camera for what is, I believe, the first time in the series, I instantly knew it would be my favorite moment from the episode.
And then if we drove 2 heads up from Tillyhome style, that's the idea. Yeah. Which we could do easily enough if we made a vent hole in corner of Dole. This pit of pump.
Gotta be honest, I'm right there with Marion as far as being like, on the coal plot line. All I really have a firm grasp of is that the Rawsons have been stealing coal from Ann Lister, and Ann Lister has been borrowing tons of money. That's all I know for sure, as far as all this business stuff. Mariana writes a smartass letter to Anne mentioning the John Lister newspaper joke heading, and Ann Lister's response is kind of like, so what? Remember, folks, when someone chooses to laugh at your pain, 9 times out of 10, they are usually in either unfortunate circumstances or extremely boring circumstances. In this case, with Mariana Lawton, I think it's fair to say she qualifies as both.
Thank you, Rachel.
A lot of people online pointed out this interesting quick moment where Ann Walker refers to their maid as Rachel and Ann Lister refers to their maid as Hemingway. I think the show is really trying to depict Ann Walker as kinder and more humble and more down to earth than Ann Lister, who the more we get to know, the more flaws we see.
I didn't tell you this because I don't know.
Oh my God. Ann Walker's eyes when she hears the phrase, "I didn't tell you this." Oh, she knows. She is so on edge, and I think it's because she knows something went down at Mariana Lawton's, and she just doesn't know exactly what. But look at her face, like she is just like, oh God, please. What could it possibly be now that you didn't tell me? Like, oh my God. What, Anne? What? Tell me, what am I gonna find out about next? Who have you that I didn't already know about? Who am I gonna find out you behind my back next? Ann Walker insists the anonymous letter she got is irrelevant and, discard it and don't mention another word about it. Methinks the lady doth protest too much. If you really don't care about something, you're not going to ban it from being spoken about. Hello, Florida. You. The next thing that happens is that Ann Walker very vulnerably reveals she still sometimes imagines herself, having had children. And this almost sends Ann Lister into a blind rage. Ann Lister acknowledges it's a great sadness that the two of them can't have children, but that she rightly needs to know what Ann Walker's decision is on their future. She would have more right to say these things if she hadn't just cheated on Ann Walker. Like, holy
It is a great sacrifice. And if you're not sure it's one you could make.
If you're not sure, it's one you can make, Ann Lister. Who's the one running off checking another woman's plumbing? Who's the one lying almost since the very inception of y'all's relationship? Who's the one who isn't giving her wife the sort of priority and attention she deserves? Ann Lister is the answer to all of those questions, and it is just so hypocritical of her to corner Ann Walker like this when she is the one who has been running around acting like she isn't sure that she wants to have a wife for life back at home. And it makes me think that a lot of the anger Ann Lister is feeling is, genuinely towards Ann Walker talking about kids, but I also think it's anger at herself. Do you really want Ann Walker forever for life? Because you're doing a lot of things to potentially ruin it. Maybe there is some projection going on when she's yelling at Ann and screaming, is this what you want? I'm thinking she's kind of screaming into a mirror. Is this what I really want? Well, another fantastic episode. I'm starting to think this show just isn't capable of giving us a bad episode. I love how true to the diaries the show is continuing to be, and I also am bravo at the fantastic performances from the actors, Saran Jones and Sophie Rundle, and also all of the supporting cast as well. Sylvia Sims as old Mrs. Rawson flirting with Ann Lister, absolutely tickled me. So what are your thoughts? What was the highlight of the episode for you? As I said, mine was Marian breaking the fourth wall for the first time and looking at the camera. All right, I've enjoyed recapping this episode. Make sure you keep your eye out for my recap of episode 7 next week, but also keep your eye out in the future for more Ann and Ann content. I have been working on some bonus content I plan on pushing out after the show ends, so do not fret. There will be more Ann Lister and Ann Walker in store for us in the future. Thanks for watching. I'm Amanda, and I will see you for the recap of episode 7.